Everyone, and welcome. Today, we are recording a guest lecture for our online journalism students, and we are very lucky to have Sophia Phan with us. Sophia is currently a senior audience editor and has previously worked as a digital editor, beginning her career at the Sydney Morning Herald as a young journalist. Sophia, thank you so much for being here and for sharing your experience with our students. To start us off, could you please briefly introduce yourself in
Mhm.
your own words and tell us a little bit about your career journey and how you moved into audience-focused editorial roles?
Yeah, sure. My name is Sophia, and I currently am the senior audience editor working across the mastheads of Nine Publishing. So that currently includes Sydney Morning Herald, The Age, and the Australian Financial Review, as well as Brisbane Times and WA Today. And part of what I do is I look after our coverage and audience strategy for tentpole events. So that's things such as the federal election, the Olympics, the federal budget. I guess anything that is reoccurring slash is of importance to our brand identity that I guess we can build upon the strategy each time it kind of rolls around. So I look after that, and I'm also the conduit for the newsroom to our product team. So that's the team that looks after developments on web and on app and within our CMS.
Mhm.
Um, I've been in this role for a bit over a year, and prior to that, I was in a national role for the Metro mastheads, looking after the national social strategy, which is very fun. It was during the advent of TikTok and vertical video, so navigating that space was an insightful time. And then prior to that, I was the deputy digital editor of the Sydney Morning Herald, looking after the website as well as our digital touch points on web and app. And I started at the Herald as a little 19-year-old way back when.
Oh, so young.
Not
Yeah.
young anymore. um, Working in social and online production. So back in those days, there was just Facebook and Twitter. There
Yeah.
wasn't much else.
Yeah.
So I looked after the growth of our accounts there, as well as online production in the community section. So that includes things like the opinion pages, letters to the editor, the editorial, and I also did a little bit of comment moderation. And then I guess from there, my career just sort of naturally evolved as I guess the digital space was expanding. So was I guess my skill set, and as you know, a new platform launched, I kind of got across that a bit more. And then eventually I worked my way from producer to deputy to editor. And then I moved away from social to then look after the website. So I kind of just, I guess, at each stage of my career, just naturally progressed from platform to expanding my knowledge across the digital universe, and at the same time bringing in those thoughts and insights as to how the Herald presented its content and coverage in those spaces as well. So yeah, I'm very excited for you to have me.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That was great start. You mentioned you begin your career at Sydney Morning Herald as a very young journalist. What were some key turning points that led you into audience and digital editing role?
I think because as the nature of journalism and I guess the industry sort of evolves, it's important to kind of understand what readers want to engage with, and I guess what content resonates most. And I'm very much from the school of thought of data driven, not data led.
Yeah.
So it's always nice to know what you're working towards, but also what success looks like as well, because I feel like without those sort of goals, it's kind of hard to know whether you're progressing or not. So naturally, when I was working in social, you obviously have like metrics within those apps natively. You can kind of see how well a post has gone, what the reach was like, what the click through was like. Now you see like video views, And then similarly on the homepage as well, like we obviously know what stories are important and what is newsworthy, but at the same time, it's understanding what kind of content people are reading across the board, like the breadth of content they're consuming. How deeply are they engaged with it? What content sparks completion versus, someone to leave a comment?
Yeah.
And I think understanding those behaviors as well then allows us to better commission content that people want to consume. And then, of
Mhm.
course, we're a subscription business as well. So better understanding that kind of engagement and consumption allows us to better, I guess, host content that our subscribers want to consume.
Thank you very much, Sophia. There is a question that I want to ask. How is the role of
Mhm.
an audience editor different from the traditional reporter or section editor? What are the differences here?
Yeah, I guess it's sort of, I mean, I've only ever worked here, so I can't speak for all newsrooms around
Yeah, it's
around
just
the world.
your role.
But my role sits outside of editorial per se, so
Hmm.
it's not the same business unit as I guess where the newsrooms are embedded, but I'm very much adjacent to that and work very closely with people within the newsroom. My role is not to change copy or commission content or call up sources or, the traditional sort of things that a journalist would do. My role is to provide insights that the topic editor can then action. So a lot of my reporting and a lot of the insights and numbers I dig up, I usually relay to that level of management. So topic editors in chief, so that they can sort of funnel that insight down within their teams and use it to inform their commissioning. Because sometimes I guess when you're deep in around or deep within a story, it helps to have someone kind of collate a holistic view
Yeah.
of how that story is being consumed, on site, on social, in video form, uh,
Yeah.
completion, retention, and provide that in, I guess, a digestible manner, so then they don't spend a long time, having to decipher all
Yeah.
these numbers and trend lines and charts. I can kind of be there to sort of translate these metrics into something that they can then use um,
Mhm.
in their day-to-day reporting or commissioning.
Oh, thank you very much. And this is a very general question. What does a typical day look like for you or in your position or in your career?
I'm in a lot of meetings, which I used, yeah, a lot of meetings. My calendar can get a bit busy, so much so now that I've color coded them based on what type of meetings they are. Because my role, like I mentioned earlier, works a lot with both the newsroom but also with the product team.
Mhm.
And because my role spreads across all of publishing, I not only look after products that affect the Sydney Morning Herald, but I also look after products that affect the Financial Review. So that then means that I have to talk to two sets of people because we're working on different things.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is taken up by that, like what's sort of coming on the roadmap, what sort of things I'm flagging for, um, fast lane requests on behalf of editors. If there's anything already in development that I need to troubleshoot. So there'll be a little bit of that. Every morning and every afternoon, I also attend a news conference. So my days are sort of anchored around those times as well. And then I guess in between, I'm having conversations with people whom I'm doing reporting for. So if I'm not in meetings, I'm usually at my desk in Google Sheets,
Yeah.
in internal dashboards, um, trying to then distill those numbers into, a couple of slides that I can,
Yeah.
present to different topic editors and different sections. And then when I'm not doing that, I guess I am also then trying to read a lot of not academic papers, but like insights from other newsrooms and how they're approaching audience engagement and audience data, if there are any new product developments.
Yeah.
And then when I have time, I try to read the news as well, because obviously I need to be across what's happening so that I can
Yeah,
also
exactly.
report back on it. So yeah, that kind of is a rough
Great.
insight into my day.
Yeah, thank you. You mentioned about the numbers and all these statistics. How much weight do you think, and generally, I mean, how much weight do analytics carry in editorial decision making in your role?
Like I said earlier, I don't think I'm very much driven. Well, I believe that we should be data driven, not data led. It should be
Hmm.
there to inform our decisions and not dictate, I guess, whether we do something or don't do something. It definitely does help, though, when we write about an issue or a topic and then we see that it has resonated with readers. So then we're like, okay, then maybe we should look into a follow up to this story then because it's obviously um, engaged a lot of users. And then sometimes when a story hasn't performed as well, it kind of depends on, the looking back as to like, did we give it enough time on the website? Did people find this story? Things like, did it have an SEO headline? Um, was the headline a bit too confusing? Was the copy a bit too long? So just trying to really understand, because I really believe that if there's a story worth telling, it's kind of our job to make sure we find the audience for it
Yeah,
and then try to get
interesting. Yeah.
feedback as to how that works or not. So yeah, it kind of helpful in that sense. And there's a different lot of ways of measuring success as well. It's
Yeah.
not just, so much like it did this much page views or it got this many subscribers. It's just it's a big picture, I
Yeah.
think, and it's a conversation.
Exactly. Sorry to interrupt. Just I was so curious. What metrics actually matter most? Like you mentioned, there are a
Mhm.
combination of all of them, but
Mhm.
clicks, time on page, or any other metrics that you care
It's
about them.
it's
Like,
a lot of that, right? Because there's a lot of different types of readers. So obviously, like I mentioned, we're a subscription business, so we have subscribers. So it's
yeah,
really important to know what they're engaging with. But at
yeah,
the same time, you also want to get new subscribers. So you want to make sure that there are other people finding the content as well. So how is our content performing off platform?
yeah,
And then also, just because someone's read a story and it counts as a page view, you also want to make sure they're staying on the page and actually reading the story and not just
exactly. Not just
skimming.
coming through that.
Yeah, so looking at something like that, and then when you add in extra layers, like did this person then pay for this article? Did this person then go read another article? There's a lot of different elements to it, and it sort of, I guess, depends on what type of story it is because there's so many different formats, right? You have like blogs, you have normal news articles, you have feature articles, you have explainers, you have opinion pieces. So they all kind of it's apples and oranges. So what may be a good metric for one may not be one the same for the other.
Yeah.
So that's why I guess myself and people within my team spend a lot of time looking at these metrics and then putting them into context as
Yeah.
well. And there's things also around like the news cycle and seasonality. So it's like, of course, a story published, um, on Christmas won't do as well as a story not published on Christmas because of
Yeah.
just a lot of other external factors that you have to pull into consideration as well.
Yeah, you're totally right. When we're thinking about stories and writing for online audience, what makes a story work in general for online audience?
Mm. I think, I mean, I'm probably just speaking for myself, but it's
Right.
common for people who consume content online. Our attention span, you know,
Yeah.
isn't that great. Like I get distracted very easily. So I feel like a story online needs to really showcase the benefits of the different levers you can pull online. So,
Yeah.
you know, strong headline, strong image, graphics, maps, interactives, things to engage me. I think the writing can be a bit more colloquial or, have some key points to summarize an article in case I don't have time to read it. maybe subheads if it's a really long piece, like break out different themes throughout the piece rather than, I guess, have a novel of content to consume.
Yeah, great tips.
So I think, yeah, I think formats are really important and strong visuals. Like we have really, really strong photography at the Herald, and that's definitely at the forefront of a lot of our reporting as well. So I think things like galleries and video and things to make things that sing, I guess,
Yeah.
online that you can't necessarily do in other
Think people
formats.
don't like to read chunk of words there and just they prefer to see something and analyze
Yeah,
it.
and it can be, different types of day, and depending on what the story is, I may want to watch this as a video, or I may only want to read X paragraphs of this. It just so I think just being able to accommodate like different types of audience consumption is really important.
Yeah, and this is again out of curiosity. What type of contents do you receive more engagement at Sydney Morning Herald? Like, I mean, videos, the one that has maybe editorial things on it. What do you think?
As in, like, what do people read the longest on or engage with the longest?
Maybe, yeah.
I mean, naturally, anything long typically takes a long time to consume and has high engagement. Like our features on In Good Weekend do really, really well, like cover stories,
Yeah,
features, profiles, deep dives. Like I think a lot of the time, news moves quite quickly.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
and during the day and during the week, people may not have a lot of time to kind of keep up to date with every little thing. But at the end of the week or during the week, there may be a nice piece of long form or analysis that you can kind of sit back a bit and consume,
Great.
take it all in. So that usually garners a lot of deep engagement and a lot of comments
Then
as
the timing
well.
is really important for you. Just
Exactly.
public.
Exactly. It's just like, at what point can people take in this point of view or are ready for this, long piece of writing? Not at 9 a.m., probably. But maybe
Definitely.
4 p.m. or like 8 p.m.
Yeah. What do you think? What are some common mistakes that maybe students or writers make when they're writing for online audience?
I think sometimes things that you think typically would work on the internet don't land as well. Things like
Oh.
puns. Like I like a pun normally, but a pun in a headline, I'm kind of like,
Mm. Yeah,
happy
sometimes.
to see, but yeah, that's not one that I'm really into. I think some of the things that I still remember from when I was um, studying journalism is just keeping really tight paragraphs. Like I think people tend to over describe and use a lot of language just because you can. Like when you
Yeah,
type in the CMS and you file for online, you kind of can just be a little bit liberal. Whereas I guess if you file for the newspaper, it's very strict. We have
yeah.
this many words and this is the whole that we have in the paper. You can't go over. Whereas online, people are just like, I can write forever. So I remember when I used to edit breaking news, I used to say, just cut this down, cut this down. We're writing about the weather, not war and peace.
Yeah, when we start, we can't stop. What do you think? How has social media changed the way stories are written or framed in general?
I think with social media, it just kind of shows how quickly things can move and also how quickly things can sort of take off.
Yeah,
Now with, TikTok and Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts and all these different video formats, it just comes to show how liquid, I guess, our content needs to be, but also what an appetite there is to kind of consume news outside traditional text.
yeah,
So I know on our websites we have like vertical video players, like we're training our journalists and some of our editors how to like film pieces to camera. Like we're not traditionally like, a broadcast newsroom. Um,
yeah,
but if you're on the ground, in reporting from the field, it's really valuable to our readers to kind of show that we're reporting live and
yeah.
that there's context and we're an authority. And obviously, people watch a lot of video, so we should sort of be in that space. as
Right.
well. So I think taking those learnings from social and then learning about like what resonates emotively on social, and then how, what works in that space may potentially work in online. Like, I think it's a very interesting dynamic. And then obviously social audiences tend to be a bit younger. I mean, definitely on TikTok anyway. So sometimes it's even seeing like comments and what people reply to, and then whether that offers any sort of insight into our coverage, or, have they flagged something we haven't thought about. And it's just really interesting to see when news breaks how, I guess, different things perform and resonate in different
Yeah.
spaces.
Yeah, um, that's really interesting. You mentioned about what skills students or journalists need to learn. I think it's really important for our students, definitely journalists, to know what skills should they prioritize to develop or
Hmm.
understand right now.
I think it's always really good to be curious,
Yeah,
and have like a willingness to learn and try new things,
yeah,
because there's a lot of different elements when it comes to, writing a typical, you know, breaking news or normal news story. Now there's a lot of elements involved. And I think just a willingness to learn and be open to different styles and formats. And I guess in that sense as well, also being proactive and trying new things at the
yeah,
same time. Like, I'm a big fan of experimentation, because things are constantly developing, or new things are always being built, or other newsrooms are always different, always innovating, and you don't really want to get set in your ways just because something's worked once. You don't want to have to rinse and repeat 100 times. It's like, let's try something different and see if that works.
yeah,
And I think being bold enough to kind of suggest things
yeah.
is really good, because it's always nice to have a fresh perspective. I also think at the same time, like a willingness to receive feedback, because often when you're young, you will get a lot of notes on your copy, your processes, your attitude. I think it's just really important to be open to learning as much as possible and being a sponge.
Yeah. Thank you. That's great. What changes do you think, or do you see coming in the next 3 to 5 years
In
in this
terms of
field,
in this
in the field
field,
of journalism? Yeah.
I mean, AI is a big thing.
Yeah.
So obviously there's AI overviews, there's like people, resorting to AI instead of Google search. So I think that's one big challenge, like how will people discover our content, or how will people engage with news, in that sense. And then I think the other big thing, which I think is already an issue, is I guess, misinformation and news literacy, because it's so noisy now, because anyone can publish anything.
Exactly.
You can do video, you can do text, you can do a blog post, information exists everywhere and can become quite an echo chamber. So I think just cutting through that noise and being an authority in our space,
Yeah, exactly.
but also getting people to engage with news as well. Like, I think it's really important for people to be aware of what's happening in their landscape, and to trust, sources of authority, and not just whatever comes up or what they've seen on some platforms. So I think they're the two biggest issues that we're facing and will continue to face.
Yeah. You mentioned about just publishing everywhere and misinformation and ideas that everyone can publish. How do you think, how important is that for journalists to do the personal branding in the digital journalism field?
I think that's one thing, I guess, you can sort of learn from influencers, right? Is
Yeah,
that they have such an engaged, loyal audience.
exactly.
And for our journalists, like, they're not influencers, but they are influential in their field and in their topics. So that's why we always encourage, like I mentioned, if you can, if you're out in the field, to film a video. Um, if there's a big issue that needs unpacking, doing a piece to camera. If we do a big investigation, kind of explain how we uncovered it, just to kind of, I guess, take a step back and I guess have a look under the hood and kind of more clearly explain our value and our point of difference and our authority, and like, this is what journalism looks like. This is what you're paying for as a subscriber. This is what we can do that I guess not everyone can do. So showing that value, and it's not, and I guess at the same time, it is personal branding, because the more you do it, the more you're an authority in X topic as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Sophia, for your time, and thank you for sharing all the
My
experience.
pleasure.
Thank you. We would love to have some other guest lectures. If you had time, I will definitely send through some questions after students saw this video. And if you could just answer some of them, that would be lovely and helpful, really. Thank you. I appreciate your time. If you want to add anything, then just let us know, or otherwise, thank you for today's.
No, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sophia.